And now, live from the Steel Twins recording studio in beautiful Traverse City, Michigan, it's your boys, the Cannonball, the Cannon, the Steel Twins. What's up, everybody?
Yay!
It's Wednesday night.
Yes, it is.
And we're here for voice acting our 20th episode in the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles series.
Are you kidding me?
No, this is insane.
That's got to be a record.
Yeah, definitely. These episodes are like 2 to 3 hour chunks, and these cases take forever.
Not to mention how juicy they are. Oh my goodness.
But they are ripe. They are ripe with content, ripe with drama. So, it's totally worth it. We love doing it every single Wednesday. One thing we do have to do is we have to give a huge shout out to the Wrestling Rage channel. That's right. If you folks would be so kind to hit up Wrestling Rage up in the TubeU. I'm actually going to see if I can find that channel's website.
Yeah, let's take a look. Wrestling Rage.
So I think it's R2.
Right, this one right here.
So, yep. youtube.com/@WrestlingRage. I believe they also answer to R2@youtube.com. So let me just go ahead and post that in all three chats. These dudes are the real deal.
Absolutely.
If you are in the state of Michigan and you are following the if you're following the professional wrestling community in the independents, these boys here have what ails you. So thank you so much to Cody Fleming, to Joshua Harper, and all the boys over at Wrestling Rage. You keep doing what you're doing, keep fighting the good fight. And I'm hoping that you guys hang out for a couple episodes. Because not a couple episodes, a couple hours. Couple hours. There you go.
Yeah.
Obviously you're doing your thing. Obviously you're updating everybody on the you're doing some streams yourself. I can't talk right now. I'm tired. Well, I think I have a cure for what ails that.
Mm-hmm.
That's right, kids. I have here, just a black cherry vanilla bang, and
I have the ghost orange creamsicle.
Oh, it's so good. It's the best stuff. So, as per tradition here on the Steel Twins gaming channel, right before we do a voice acting, if you have a cap to your bottle or a pin on your drink, go ahead and just do me a favor, pull that pin back. Hey, package. What time is it?
It's time to get bombed.
Cheers.
Cheers, mate. Yes, sir.
I'm gonna have the Jetters tonight.
Yeah, I'm ready to go now, boy.
Yeah, me too. So, all right, we are gonna go live scene and just gonna start this whole thing.
And if you look at our shirts, we are representing our boy,
the Dread King Logan. That's right.
And
Shark to Blood.
And in case you I hear that he is going to be involved in a match with his. Well, how do you say?
His mentor, his idol, the franchise, Shane Douglas. I know that he also is going up against Karam Saturday, July 8th for Chaos Pro Wrestling. So there's your shout out there. Saturday, July 8th at Chaos Pro Wrestling in New Baltimore, Michigan. Get your tickets quick. And your boys at the Wrestling Rage can tell you more about that as well.
Yep, absolutely. Now that we got that out of the way, let's get to it. It's time for the first part of the trial on the return of the great departed soul.
Lock and load, ladies. It's go time.
Damn right, son.
Okay. We forgot to list things out. So I think we talked about it. 23rd of October, 8:52 a.m. The Old Bailey, defendant's antechamber. I can't believe it's been 6 months since I was last allowed to work in court. And now here I am, back at the Old Bailey. Huh? A Naruhodo. Good morning, Professor Hairbrayne. I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense. The atmospheric pressure in here is off the charts. I've never felt anything like it. It's crushing me. I feel it every time I'm here. That gravity. Well, this is Britain's highest court, but are you telling me it's fitted with some kind of device that can actually control air pressure? We'll get back to you on that, Doc. I think it's probably all in the mind. Oh, yes. Well, you won't let me down, will you, Mr. Naruhodo? I'm counting on you in today's trial to save my life. To save the secret of my super-high-voltage instantaneous-kinesis machine from being made public. Yes, I understand. What I have to do, I have to establish that the explosion 2 days ago was nothing more than an unfortunate accident. Well, I'm sure there's nothing to worry about, really. Justice will prevail. Yeah, it will, just not the way you think it will.
My commiserations.
My commiserations, Mr. Naruhodo. You appear to have been lumbered with a most tiresome case here. Aha! Uh-oh. Only one person can talk like that. Mr. Sholmes, I didn't expect to see you here.
That was very mean, Reno. Leave me alone at home with Hurley. It took me at least an hour to wake him.
Huh? Oh, huh? Is it? Are you? Herlock Sholmes? What? Indeed, sir. I am he. Herlock Sholmes. Oh, I've heard all about your exploits, even whilst living in Germany.
Oh, yes. Month's magazine is on sale in Germany, too.
This month's installment was sublime. Your deduction in the Adventure of Silver Blaze was wonderful. Ah, yes, a memorable case indeed. It concerned a snake, I seem to recall.
No, that was a speckled band.
Well, thank you for coming. I do appreciate your support. I'm sorry to disappoint you, my dear fellow, but I'm afraid I can't stay. Oh, I have urgent business at Madame Tuspel's. You mean your waxwork job? Oh no, the waxwork abduction, of course. Madame has engaged my services. Ah, so you're trying to get to the bottom of that ransom note, are you? The week's wages depend on it, as does the safe return of the waxwork, naturally. As such, I intend to give it my undivided attention. Oh, well, never mind then. I understand. Of course, with my skills of observation and reasoning, resolving the matter will be easy as proverbial pie. I shall return forthwith. For until I solve the case, I shall have no money to afford a pie of any description.
Ooh, and you must absolutely give it your full attention, Hurley.
Quite, Iris, quite. But life is riddled with irony, you know. Whenever I give something my full attention, I have a quite insatiable desire for a pie. One of the universe's intractable mysteries, you might say. Oh yes, quite, definitely, absolutely. I totally understand. Is someone a little starstruck? I wish you the very best of luck, Professor Hairbrayne. Oh, why thank you. Before I depart, Mr. Naruhodo, a word in your ear, if you please. Huh? What's this about? As you have remarkably little grounding in science, I feel I ought to inform you. As compelling as this super-high-voltage instantaneous-kinesis hypothesis may be, a practical implementation, such as was attempted by the professor at the Great Exhibition, is quite impossible. But the professor said the demonstration was a success. Yes, it would appear that he fervently believes it was.
I've read Professor Bunnybrain's paper about it too, Reno, and I have to say, I'm sure it can't be done. It could barely be done theoretically, let alone practically.
So he's completely barking up the wrong tree? But how can an experiment that had no possibility of succeeding, in fact, succeed? That's contradictory. And it's that contradiction that will be at the heart of the trial, I've no doubt. What's that supposed to mean? Now, I must hurry along. I wish you the best of luck, my dear fellow.
See you later, Harry.
Adieu. And there he goes.
Well, it looks like you're on your own today, Renee. But chin up. You can do it.
Oh, what about you, Iris?
Oh, no. I'm afraid I can't help. I have something I need to do.
I see.
It's going to be a big surprise for you when you find out what it is.
That sounds ominous.
Big surprise indeed. Counter for the defense and the defendant. Court is about to be in session. Make your way into the courtroom at once.
We're on our way.
Tried to sound like Captain Price there, but nope.
No, not really, but an experiment that the laws of science say can't possibly succeed. And a scientist who's convinced that it did. That's the riddle you have to unlock here, Ryunoske. That's the key to this case. Well, we'll find out about it eventually.
Without to be waiting for, let's get to it.
23rd of October, 9:10 a.m. The Old Bailey Courtroom.
Order! All rise!
In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. We are sitting today for the public trial of Professor Albert Hairbrayne. I now call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed.
The prosecution is ready.
The defense is ready, my lord. 6 months out of practice. What's more, I'm without Sasato-san today. Is it just my imagination? Or does the air in here feel even more oppressive than usual? Sir, I must say I recollect the victim of this case all too well, Mr. Odie Asman.
Mr. Asman was well known as a financier. Through that was merely a front for his diverse criminal activities.
It was only a month ago that the man appeared in court prosecuted by you, Lord Van Zieks, but the jury unanimously found him not guilty. Because every member of the jury had been bribed, by the sound of it. These powerful London criminals are prepared to go to extreme lengths to keep their freedom. But 2 days ago, on the 21st of October, Mr. Asman met his end. The work of the Reaper, was it?
If that is how your lordship would describe divine retribution. But the fact remains that Mr. Asman's death was a direct result of the actions of the accused, Professor Hairbrayne.
Very well then. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you have been selected at random to represent the will of the people. Are the 6 of you ready to fulfill your societal duty? Tap me if I'm supposed to speak.
Go.
I'm most gratified to have been selected to carry out this important civic duty, my lord.
To have a man's fate in the palm of one's hand, oh gosh, oh golly, it sends shivers down my spine.
Science experiments, magic, conjuring tricks, courtroom trials, all are nothing more than performances.
Any spurious scholar that defies the reputation of science deserves to hang.
We have to wait until I see on both sides of fence and then say one. That's it, isn't it?
Who has this guy?
I'll take him.
All right.
Wasn't like this in my day. Wasn't like this at all.
That's The police killer Ottermole look-alike. Again. And he's as exhausted as ever, it seems. Now, as I'm sure you're all aware, the incident we are here to judge today tragically took place at the Great Exhibition, shortly after its opening.
Though the death toll could have been far worse, with the exception of the victim, no one was killed. Nevertheless, the dream of the science being exhibited rapidly turned into a nightmare for the spectators.
A tragic turn of events, and as such the eyes of all London, no, of the whole world will be on this trial. It is our duty to reach a swift and just conclusion, I feel. So, your opening statement, please, Lord Van Zieks.
At the heart of this incident is technology never before demonstrated anywhere in the world.
One of science's latest developments, I take it. The government is keen to capitalize on the Great Exhibition to improve Britain's technological advantage.
The technology being demonstrated by the accused was described as super-high-voltage-instantaneous-kinesis.
Good Lord! It's designed to disassemble human subjects using extremely high-voltage electricity and beam them instantly to another location where they are subsequently reassembled. Is such a thing even within the realms of possibility? Well, I don't believe it. I don't believe it, that's for sure.
Is disassembling people with electricity? My goodness, how shocking.
Ha! The whole idea is absurd. The hypothesis would never stand up to scrutiny. Sir, I believe you are a fellow of the Royal Society, are you not? An expert in your field? I am. The word on the matter can be considered final. Instantaneous kinesis is poppycock. So this expert and Mr. Shrooms are in agreement. It's impossible. What is the prosecution's view on the matter?
The prosecution would assert that the accused instantaneous kinesis demonstration was a success.
What? What? Order!
The professor's hypothesis is currently under investigation by the British government. If it is deemed to have merit, a substantial research grant will be made available.
Ooh.
The accused made use of the invention built on his new hypothesis to take Mr. Assman's life, in order to be the sole benefactor of the grant.
But...
This disastrous demonstration was no accident. It was carefully designed from the outset to end the life of the victim.
Well, I guess it was, but strap in for why. Thank you, Lord Van Zieks. The prosecution's stance is clear. But you will now bring forth witnesses to substantiate your claims.
Gladly, my lord. Bailiff, show the first witnesses to the stand.
Yeah, it's go time now. Oh boy.
Witnesses, state your names and occupations for the court.
Yes, sir. Tobias Gregson, Detective Inspector at Scotland Yard's Homicide Division. I was on duty at the demonstration on the day in question and in charge of the following investigation.
Albert Hairbrayne, this is a scientist.
You were born in England but have been carrying out research in Germany in recent years, correct?
Yes, that's right. After graduating from university here in Britain, I I went to work in Germany and made an amazing discovery, which is what brought me back. I had to demonstrate my incredible hypothesis at the Great Exhibition.
Did you demonstrate there was incredible, alright? An incredible explosion?
But the science was a success. The instantaneous kinesis worked. Everyone saw it, they must have done. Yes, there was the terrible accident, but the demonstration of my hypothesis was a success.
Well, that much is undeniable. I'm showing this photograph taken by the forensic investigation team.
Huh. What the heck is that?
The judge.
This was taken inside the Crystal Tower, I take it. The centerpiece of the exhibition, no less.
That's right, my lord. Seems the victim ran straight into it.
I see. Very well, submit the photograph as evidence. Photograph of the victim has been entered into the court record.
Photographic print of the victim taken after he had ostensibly been beamed to the Crystal Tower. It shows an apparent stab wound to the chest. As the court's heard, the victim of the incident was Mr. Audie Osman. There have been a number of allegations made against the man, and putting him aside for the time being. He was the man who financed the research for the experiment and the demonstration itself.
I see. So, to summarize the situation, the defendant is accused of taking the life of the man who funded his work. Would that be correct?
Exactly.
But couldn't it be that the explosion was caused by some malfunction in the apparatus used for the demonstration? That's right! That must be it! My splendid machine! My poor, splendid machine!
You saw it yesterday, didn't you? Can't even examine the records thanks to that special dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act.
What? The wreckage? The wreckage? But that being the case, how can the facts be established? How can it possibly be determined whether this was an accident or a deliberate and malicious act?
Extremely simply, my lord.
I beg your pardon?
Isn't that right, witness?
What? Sorry, me?
No, your neighbor.
Yes, sir. It was murder. Plain and simple. Anyone could state that with complete certainty.
What? How can he possibly think that? Thank you, Inspector. I think we had better proceed to formal testimony. You will explain to the court on what grounds you claim this experiment to have been a front for murder. My God.
Lucky Lord, Ryunoske. This is gonna be a big one.
I don't remember this. Front for murder.
The cops that went crashing through the Great Crystal Tower had a broken neck.
I made a minor miscalculation in the angle of the beam projection, that's all. That was my mistake.
But the post-mortem examination revealed another injury. Fatal wound. There was a lesion in his chest where he clearly been stabbed by something sharp right in the heart. So the victim was killed before he went anywhere. And this fella's the only one who could have done it.
I don't think so.
Nope. Sorry.
Something just tells me that isn't right. An extraordinary business. In addition to suffering a broken neck, the victim was stabbed in the heart. Information I would really like to have heard from someone other than the judge.
The coroner says death could have been all but instant from a wound like that.
You could say, in fact, that the victim was killed twice by the accused.
Jesus. No, that couldn't be further from the truth.
I have here the experiment plan document that was submitted to the security team.
Look at this.
The victim stood himself inside something called the bird cage, ready to be beamed instantly. To the second level of the Crystal Tower. About 25 yards away.
The experiment did not go according to plan, however. As the machine was put into operation, there was a large explosion. The blast caused the beam transmitter to point higher than intended. Accordingly, the kinesis resulted in the birdcage materializing in mid-air.
Now what? Now look at that. There's a balloon right there.
Oh! From where it subsequently fell, crashing through the glass of the Crystal Tower's large round window.
My word. One assumes the victim's neck was broken upon impact with the tower then. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for this to happen. The machine was just too powerful. But honestly, really, I swear, it was just an accident. A terrible accident.
Unfortunately, that excuse can't save you.
No, not considering the sharp mouth, the weapon that pierced the victim's heart.
Murder weapon? What are you saying?
This is the autopsy report submitted by the coroner. The prosecution would like to enter it into the court record.
Your request is granted, counsel. The autopsy report has been entered into the court record.
The autopsy report of the victim, Mr. Asman. His neck was broken from the impact of a violent fall, and he was stabbed in the chest with a sharp object.
I wonder what object that was. I was there in person, you know. I saw the whole ludicrous performance. And the only other person on the stage with Mr. Osmond was that disgraceful excuse for a scientist.
Then really? But by all accounts, it must have been him.
Hard to think otherwise, really. Very well. Counsel for the defense, proceed with the cross-examination, please. Oh, yes, my lord. I need to focus here. It's been a while. All right. So, before we get going here, a front for murder. Before we get any further, I want to take a look. Okay, here's the sketch. Look at this piece of green cloth. Looks like layers of thick canvas with a thick rubber lining of sorts. I've never seen anything like it before. But applying Mr. Sholmes' methods, you might deduce it was part of a raincoat worn by someone who really didn't want to get wet. The charring must have occurred when the person was struck by lightning. Or maybe not.
Okay.
All right. Now let's look at this thing.
Let's see.
If we pull the hammer here. There's some sort of lever here. Whoa. What is this? It looks like a cross between a bow and a gun. A crossbow. I think it's probably used for the same thing, too. The details of the crossbow have been updated in the court record.
Weapon found hidden behind a tree under the experimentation stage at the exhibition grounds. It turns out that it's a folding crossbow.
Ooh.
Wow. That's going to be important later.
Mm-hmm. This groove here must be where the arrows are loaded, I suppose. So I was right. Sort of a bow with an automatic firing mechanism. This will be perfect for someone like me who catches his ear with the bowstring 2 times out of 3. Fact, if I'd had one of these, maybe I could have beaten Kazuma in Kyoto archery training. Can't find anything out of place. Look at this. It looks like you wind this around in order to draw the bowstring back and create tension. You must be able to fire arrows with a huge amount of force using this device then. In fact, I would imagine it's far more accurate and powerful than a Japanese longbow. Ugh, they had no idea what I was picking up when I spotted this at the exhibition grounds. Yeah, and you don't know the half of it, boy.
Well, that's gonna be important.
Now, you gotta look at this. I mean, there's the stab wound here. He's wearing glasses here.
Yep.
And then the autopsy report.
Death of victim. Details of victim. Name, Odie Asman, male, age 47, nationality British, Time of death, 21st of October, around 2:20 p.m.
Coroner Courtney Scythe. Cause of death, hemorrhaged of a wound to the chest that pierced the heart inflicted by a sharp implement.
Additional observations of broken vertebra, most likely resulting from impact after a sudden fall from considerable height.
All right, well, giddy up, 409.
The corpse of one crashes through the crystal tower had a broken neck.
Hold it! Are you suggesting that's because he fell from a considerable height?
Exactly. Which highlights something else about this whole rum business.
What's that?
The fact that the instantaneous kinesis itself was a success.
Ah!
After the explosion, the cage of the Fellian seed suddenly appeared out of nowhere in mid-air.
So although the experiment ended in disaster, the so-called instantaneous kinesis did actually occur.
Remind us, Professor, what was the cause of the fatal disaster?
I made a minor miscalculation in the angle of the beam projection, that's all. That was my mistake. Hold it! So the angle of projection is critical, is it? And you calculated it yourself? Personally? Absolutely. The calculation is far too complicated for anyone but me to carry out.
Only, you got it wrong, didn't you?
Yes, that's right. That's the point. The calculation is so complicated even I can make a mistake. Do people fall for that brazen confidence? I should try it. I took into account the subject's height and weight, the wind direction, the ambient temperature. I considered every possible variable. So I just don't understand how this could have happened. Obviously then you had to include the weight of the clothes Mr. Asman was wearing at the time, I suppose. Huh? Ah! That's crackling comets! The answer should have been 3! So much for safety first. The 3 must be for safety third.
But the post-mortem examination revealed another injury, a fatal wound.
Hold it! Another fatal injury, you say? That doesn't make any sense!
I didn't think I had to spell this out, but here we go. Just because there were 2 fatal wounds doesn't mean I'm saying the victim had 2 lives to lose, does it?
Too right.
Obviously at first, we thought the bloke had died due to his spine snapping in half as well.
But you're saying that's not the case?
You'll get your answer once I finish my fish and chips, if you don't keep butting in every few seconds.
We all know that's a bottomless bag.
The victim plummeted 30 feet into a glass tower. It would be reasonable to assume that as the cause of death.
Right, that's what we all thought, but it was a red herring, wasn't it? There was a lesion in his chest when he claimed he was stabbed by something sharp right in the heart.
Hold it! The defense knew nothing of this crucial information.
The prosecution received this report from the forensic investigation team only this morning. That was the first we knew of it as well. I can only apologize for the impossibility of informing the defense.
Sarcastic and insincere. Thanks. So, what was the nature of this sharp object?
Among the accused tools that were in use at the demonstration, one is of particular interest. This.
Ah, yes, that would appear to be some kind of screwdriver, wouldn't it? Ah! There he is! My trusty little companion, Andrew!
Ah, that's my name.
Andrew. Of course. Ah, do you know each other already? He's one of my dear friends, like all my tools. I've named them all, you know. We're one big happy family. Andrew is my flathead screwdriver, of course. His brother Michael is a crosshead. Well, it would appear that your beloved Andrew has a red stain on his shank. Ah! But that isn't...
It's blood. beyond all reasonable doubt.
No!
And that's not all. The long, sharp shape of this Andrew fella is completely consistent with the victim's wound.
What? What? Order! Order! The court will enter this friend of the defendant as evidence. The screwdriver has been entered into the court record.
Professor Hairbrayne's trusty screwdriver that he's named Andrew. There are traces of blood at the tip and it matches the shape of the victim's wound.
So one of Professor Hairbrayne's tools is the murder weapon. Great.
Well, the victim was killed before he went anywhere, and this fella's the only one who could have done it.
So, okay, let's take a look at this thing here. I've seen this unusually shaped handle before. It's the same screwdriver that was lodged in the grill on the floor of the kinesis machine, which could be important information, so I should definitely make a note of it. The details of the screwdriver have been updated in the court record.
Metal screwdriver is found poking through the grill on the base of what remains of the kinesis machine, and it's a very distinctive handle. And this blood.
And the blood. This is blood. Mr. Asmund's, no doubt. This is the problem with looking at murder weapons. Alright. So, okay. Alright. Let's see here. Hold it! What grounds do you have for saying that?
Do you really need to ask? There are only two people on that public experimentation stage in front of the whole crowd.
The victim, Mr. Odie Asman, and the accused, Professor Hairbrayne. And we know for certain that before the experiment, the victim was alive.
That's right. I saw him with my own eyes.
Furthermore, following the explosion and kinesis, nobody went anywhere near the body.
In other words, only someone else on stage or the victim could possibly have done it.
Hey, Scott! Excuse me. Professor Hairbrayne, do you have some information that may be relevant here? Professor! Huh? Huh? Sorry! I was just calculating the optimal coefficient of electrolysis to separate molecules in the human body. And the witness stand is the best place for that. It seemed as though you might have something to say about Inspector Gregson's last remark. Yes, that's right, of course. He just said that nobody else could have done it, didn't he?
Yeah, that's right. Who else could have stabbed the victim, eh?
I don't know, but there's no way that I could possibly have stabbed Mr. Asman, as you say. Explain, please, Professor. Of course, this cold-hearted policeman may not be aware, I suppose. But humans are warm-blooded mammals with blood running continuously through their veins.
Right head.
And surely you see, if I'd plunged something the size of Andrew into the man's chest, the whole stage would have been a bloodbath. No, a blood swimming pool. But thousands of Londoners were watching me at the time, and yet not one of them claims to have seen a swimming pool of blood.
Well, no. I suppose not.
You see? Not one! True. I didn't see anything like that. Well done, Professor. That was a great counter-argument. Order!
Pray forgive the discourtesy if I savor a drop from my hallowed chalice to accompany my old friend's adducing.
Huh?
Here's to you, Albert.
Oh, you're too kind, Barok, but I'm really not a patch on you. Oh.
No, you're not.
No? Huh?
You've neglected to mention one crucial possibility.
I have?
a particular situation in which very little bleeding would result from a stab wound.
Ah, of course.
Inspector, enlighten the court, please.
Yes, sir.
Where are they going with this? Very well. You will amend your formal testimony now, Inspector Gregson.
The weapon the victim was stabbed with must have been left in his body whilst he was beamed through the air.
Okay, I don't know about that shit. I'm going to present the photograph of the victim.
Objection.
Oops. Objection! That last statement would seem to be at odds somehow with the evidence. It is your task, counsel, to explain the somehows to the court, not the other way around. And it just seems to jar, though, don't you think? What I think is that this whole exchange has been extremely jarring, yes. Perhaps I need to reconsider this. All right, well, hold it. Why would you think that, Inspector?
It's any weird. It's only when you pull the weapon out that profuse bleeding occurs. Whilst it's still lodged in the body, it acts as a stopper of sorts, for want of a better word.
I see.
You don't need a medical degree to be aware of this fact. It's common knowledge for any investigator.
Ugh. Where's Sasato-san when you need her?
You ask me, this bloke masks what he was doing from view with his body before stabbing Mr. Asman in the chest. Then he beamed the victim off the stage with his fancy device. The screwdriver's still where he planted it.
Oh, hold on. No.
Wait a minute.
I would never do such a thing! Not to my precious tools! I would never use them for such dirty work! You only use tools for their intended purpose! That's common knowledge for any scientist!
The fact remains the lack of blood at the scene can easily be explained, as the prosecution has demonstrated.
Okay, I know what I need to do. So that's all the testimony I have to work with. I had no idea the victim had been stabbed. That changes everything. Did Van Zieks keep that to himself until now on purpose to gain the advantage? Oh well, I suppose all I can do is press these witnesses for as much new information as possible. Well, I know exactly where to go, so give me a second here. Okay. Must have been left in his body whilst he was beamed through the air. Alright, well they said that, that the screwdriver was left, they said that the screwdriver was in the victim's body when he went through the instantaneous kinesis. That's not true. Why? Because it was found poking through the grill in the base of the kinesis machine. He's going to get in trouble for this, but... Objection! You say that while the weapon remains in the body, there's very little bleeding. Is that unequivocal?
Look, there's no blood in the experimentation stage, even though that's where the fellow was stabbed. The only explanation for that is that the screwdriver was still in his body, stopping any heavy bleeding.
It's common medical knowledge, my learned friend, even on your side of the world.
Yes, but about this screwdriver. The thing is, we actually saw it at the scenes ourselves. On the experimentation stage. What? It was on the floor by the wreckage of the machine, poking through a metal grill. I went to pick it up, but the detective here stopped me. Isn't that right, Inspector Gregson?
Now you come to mention it, yes.
Inspector, are we to understand that you permitted the defense counsel to investigate? That you contravened the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act?
No, not at all. They wouldn't do that. Just let him look, not more. It was very clear it wasn't a touch of thing.
Yes, that's true. This screwdriver was in plain sight on the stage. But it shouldn't have been, should it?
Well, what are you getting at?
If this tool had still been in the victim's body when the victim was beamed away by the machine, then it shouldn't have still been on the stage. That's right. It should have been beamed across to the Crystal Tower along with Mr. Asman and been found still lodged in the victim's chest. Order! Order! How do you explain this, Inspector?
Hey, well, it don't...
It looks as though everything the victim had on his person moved with him when he was beamed. If the screwdriver was still in his chest when the instantaneous kinesis occurred, obviously that should have been beamed to the destination as well.
Yeah.
It's a strange situation. Even though people are saying that this instantaneous kinesis is a scientific impossibility, we're still basing arguments on the assumption that it did actually take place. All right, time to tighten the screws here. My lord, if the prosecution is unable to explain this inconsistency in its argument, we can only conclude that the testimony given in support cannot be relied upon. Lord Van Zieks is stumped. Hold it! Oh my gosh. Do you have something to say, witness? Yes, I knew it. It bears out. Equations hold. Mr. Naruhodo, don't worry! About what? Without delving into the details, there is no inconsistency. What? Even if Andrew had been lodged in Mr. Asman's chest, my trusty tool wouldn't have moved. Andrew remaining on the stage is consistent with my calculations. What?
It would seem your illusions have been shattered. Clearly, we should hear the accused explanation. Or should I say, this brilliant scientist's explanation?
Just when I'd found an inconsistency in the prosecution's argument. Scientists. Very well, the defendant will testify again. Provide us with the scientific explanation as to why the inconsistency asserted by the defense fails to hold. In the name of Apollo, I will, my lord. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Time for another one. Mr. Hairbrayne, the inconsistency explained, please.
To be clear, I'm still at the stage of gathering data in my research. My hypothesis states the kinesis cannot transport metal, though. Hence, the metal weapon would have stayed put. Uh-oh. In other words, the point just raised by Mr. Naruhodo isn't an inconsistency at all. Mr. Asman was the patron of my research. Without him, my work wouldn't have been possible. Now I have a duty to protect the incredible machine that we built together. I'm going to grow him like a hamburger, but I know exactly what the inconsistency is. So, the thrust of your testimony, Professor, is...
that based upon his hypothesis, metal objects cannot be moved by this method of instantaneous kinesis.
In other words,
since the screwdriver is made of metal, even if it remained lodged in the victim's chest, its subsequent discovery on the stage, despite the victim being found elsewhere, is not an inconsistency.
And therefore,
Professor Albert Hairbrayne could still have been the killer.
My great hypothesis holds, you see. We had to make the cage used to contain the subject from wood for that very reason. I was not addressing you, witness. Professor Hairbrayne. Yes? Whose side are you on here? I don't take sides, Mr. Naruhodo. No. My only interest lies in upholding my hypothesis I'm a scientist after all. Is he working for us or against us? It's very hard to tell.
Let's see how you cross-examine this testimony, my Nipponese friend.
Yes, fire away, Miss Naruhodo. I'm gonna grill him like a hamburger just to get the story, but Here we go. The inconsistency explained. To be clear, I'm still at the stage of gathering data in my research. Hold it. And yet your retort to my argument wasn't lacking in confidence in any way. No scientist can find the truth without first finding self-belief. Those were the words of a certain scientist I hold in the very highest esteem. But you realize that disproving my argument puts you in a very precarious position, don't you? No scientist should strive to protect himself more than he strives to protect the truth. More words of the same great scientist, you know. Words that are causing me a lot of trouble. Who is this scientist? I'm afraid I couldn't tell you, Miss Naruhodo. But as soon as I remember the magnificent genius's name, you'll be the first to know. It might be worth keeping the names of your idols to mind.
You're wasting your breath, my learned friend. This scatterbrain even forgets my name at times.
So Lord Van Zieks really did have a friend once, but I didn't notice hell freezing over. My hypothesis states that kinesis cannot transport metal, though hence the metal weapon would have stayed put. Hold it! Your hypothesis states it, so this isn't proven then. No, of course not. It's merely hypothesis, but a good one, based upon thousands of calculations. But it is widely known that metals can't be decomposed by electrolysis. By electrolysis, thank you. Yes, of course, so I am right. My hypothesis is clearly correct. What is it about incriminating himself that makes this man so happy? It's the whole reason that the birdcage is made of wood, you see? Sorry, the birdcage. Yes, that's what I call the C. obtusa cage in which Mr. Asman was placed for the kinesis. Oh, okay. The jail cell in which the victim was detained. It does indeed seem to be made of a timber of some sort. I'll thank you not to refer to it as an instrument of incarceration, your lordship.
In short, any weapon lodged in the victim when he was beamed away by instantaneous kinesis would have been left behind on the stage if it was made of metal, correct?
Yes, that's it. Yes. It all fits perfectly with the mathematical model. But the ultimate conclusion, then, is that the defendant alone had the opportunity to inflict this fatal injury on the victim, is it not? Huh? Indeed, sir. Someone beam me out of this nightmare. In other words, the point just raised by Mr. Naruhodo isn't a consistency at all. Hold it! You seem to be pleased by that. Yes, another example of my hypothesis holding true. But I sense some sarcasm, Mr. Naruhodo. Are you not pleased? No. Okay, let me do that again. No. I knew it. At the end of the day, I'm the one responsible for Mr. Asman losing his life. The advancement of science is no excuse. I know that. No, you're quite right. Tell the court, did you have a close relationship with Mr. Asman? Oh, well, no, not really. I mean, I'd only met him 2 or 3 times, and we only ever discussed my hypothesis and the project, and the research grant, of course, so that might be important. Yes. Mr. Asman was the patron of my research. Without him, my work wouldn't have been possible. Hold it! How did you come to know Mr. Asman in the first place? A year ago now, a small provincial science journal published a little paper about my work. That's a scientific journal? Good gracious, I should need new spectacles. Okay. No good. That's all good. I might have had an extraordinary hypothesis and great promise, but at the time, I had no money. I had to eat tiny little meals at a tiny little cafe and drink watered down water out of a tiny little glass. But Mr. Asmund read the paper and came to visit me at my tiny little laboratory.
And offer you money to help fund your work.
Exactly! That's exactly what happened. I handled the theoretical side of things, and Mr. Asmund provided me with an engineer for the practical. And the three of us produced that fantastic machine together. The machine that you brought to the Great Exhibition to demonstrate. We had to apply to the government for some sort of inspection to be allowed to exhibit, I think. I didn't understand all that side of things. Mr. Asmund took care of all of it. He was a wonderful man. Really, I owe him everything. Now I have a duty to protect the incredible machine that we built together. Hold it. When you say that you built the machine together, does that mean you were involved in its construction? Yes. Well, not exactly. I'm not good with the practical side of machines myself, so the physical construction was done by an engineer.
Little remains of your creation now, though. Following the explosion, repair will no doubt be impossible.
Yes, I realize that. But still, if someone were to gather all the broken parts, they could discover the secret of my hypothesis. Mr. Asmund and I toiled over that machine for so long. We poured our hearts and souls into it. I have to protect our work. So what's left of the machine must be kept safe. That's only fair, because what happened was an accident. There you go, that's the crux of the matter. That's the extent of the testimony, then. Thank goodness for that. I don't want him doing any more damage. He's already basically proven that he could have been the culprit. But it seems as though all he really cares about is defending his hypothesis. Still, I wonder, what if his hypothesis is just fundamentally flawed? So I know exactly what to attack. Okay, so the metal weapon would have stayed put, huh? How do you explain this? Objection! Professor Hairbrayne, you say that according to your hypothesis, nothing made of metal can be beamed by instantaneous kinesis using the machine you made. Is that right? Yes, that's right. Spot on. Exactly correct. In that case, I'd ask you to have a look at this photograph that was taken at the scene, cause every time I do, it makes me laugh. Okay. In particular, I'd like you to pay attention to the victim's face. You can clearly see that Mr. Asmund is wearing a pair of spectacles with a metal rim. What? Metal? No! Metal can't... That's not metal! No! We've already established that the proposed murder weapon, the screwdriver, was found on the stage. However, if your hypothesis correctly predicted that outcome, it should also have predicted that the metal-rimmed spectacles would be found in the same place. Nah! My hypothesis! Professor Hairbrayne, this isn't easy for me to say, but your hypothesis is clearly flawed. Ah, no! Order! Counsel, what is the implication of this? If on the day in question the alleged instantaneous kinesis never actually took place, then it's entirely possible that the victim was killed somewhere other than on the stage. And in that case, someone other than the defendant could have been the culprit. But my hypothesis is sound! I proved it on that day! The experiment was a success! The experiment was proof of all my work! Objection! Objection! If I could say something here in my capacity as a Fellow of the Royal Society. Yes, juror number 4, go ahead. As a man of science, there's one thing I simply cannot abide. And that's a fraud who pretends to be a fellow man of science. What? Wait! Great Scott! Are you suggesting my science is suspect? It's just been disproved, hasn't it?
in front of all of us. In other words, the whole demonstration was a complete nonsense from start to finish. Believe me, my fellow jurors, when I tell you that this man is a heel, a bounder, and a fraud.
I say the wreckage of that machine should be stripped down and thoroughly examined.
No! Never! That machine is the essence of my entire hypothesis! It's protected by the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act!
What the devil is that blasted act all about, eh? Who made up such a duff room?
I don't like the way this seems to be going. What's the best way for me to help the professor? All right, well, I don't know. Raise an objection.
Objection!
Objection! Professor Hairbrayne has yet to perfect his invention. That would seem to be the case, yes. But even so,
what?
going to such trouble and expense to create a fake machine to display in public, he would have absolutely no reason to do such a thing.
Objection! He had an obvious reason to do exactly that. For the research grant money.
If the government was foolish enough to have deemed the man's ridiculous notion plausible, he and his conspirators would have received a handsome sum indeed. Conspirators?
What would be the value of such a grant? £10?
Oh my lord, please.
You're an order of magnitude out, madam. £500 a year!
Whoa!
Ah! You could have had some of that much for years.
The Society's noticed an increase in bogus public demonstrations in the field of science recently, and plenty of scientists arguing with each other to get the largest slice of the funding cake. People's greed is plenty motive enough for murder, I assure you. No! I haven't deceived anyone, least of all the government. My hypothesis is sound. The science is sound. Please, you must believe me.
Objection! No matter how unbelievable this hypothesis may seem to you, ladies and gentlemen, the fact remains that the victim was transported instantly to the Crystal Tower. Which means that the experiment was a success.
Barok!
And therefore, the only person who could possibly have committed this murder is the accused.
Barok. Where is this heading? I have no idea.
My lord, if I may,
Yes, Lord Van Zieks?
the prosecution would like to summon new witnesses to the stand.
New witnesses? What would be the nature of their involvement?
They were spectators of the demonstration at the exhibition who were occupying special seats.
Eyewitnesses? Very well, the court grants the prosecution's request. I should very much like to hear from eyewitnesses to the incident.
The prosecution's stance is clear. This experiment was no postish. The accused killed the financier victim there on the public stage before the very eyes of the spectators. Now, my learned friend,
Oh, yes?
it's time for you to make your own stance clear.
There's clearly a flaw in the professor's hypothesis. I could definitely see that. But where does that leave me? We shall take a short recess now, during which time the prosecution will prepare its new witnesses to take the stand.
As you wish, my lord.
Good. In that case, court is adjourned for 20 minutes.
Speaking of 20 minutes, I'm going to have to go to the bathroom.
Okay. So, all right. To be continued.
To be continued. Yeah, we got to get going. We got to keep going on this.
I know, yeah, we got to keep going. So we're going to have a brief intermission here.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. Save your current progress. Yes.
When we come back, we're going to hear from the witnesses who saw the whole thing from, well,
start to finish. So go ahead and hit the bricks, kid.
Roger that.
I will hold the fort down here. So, folks, while my brother is making his way to the commode, I'd like to take a moment and let's see. Yep, Wrestling Rage is on there. I don't see any other comments, unfortunately. But let me take this opportunity to plug some of our sponsors. Well, not sponsors, but some of our partners here. You definitely want to take a look. If you have okay. Do you like football? And do you listen to podcasts a lot? Well, my friend, the Flatliner Scotty Freytown, myself, the Cannonball Alex Steele, and of course, our partner, the Bootleg Better, have a podcast known as The Outside Blitz. And actually, there's a call coming in. So one moment, please. Hey, it's your boys. Okay, so I know that if anybody was listening up to this point, I was just about to hawk our good friends at the Outside Blitz, the Flatliner Scotty Freytown, and the Bootleg Better, and of course your boy here, Cannonball Alex Steele. You know, every 2 weeks during the off season, we will bring you special content and news from around the league. And of course, we review games every single week during the regular season. Mm-hmm. And and coming up in 2 weeks, we're going to have an episode where we have our bold, way too early season predictions. So get your popcorn ready for that, folks. If you love football and you love podcasts, the Outside Blitz is just the ticket for you. So, are we ready to do this?
Let's go.
Let's go, homeboy.
Good news. The check cleared. It's go time.
23rd of October, 10:44 a.m. The Old Bailey, defendants and the chamber.
And this Professor Hairbrayne voice is kind of wearing on me, but I'll try it. I'll give it a shot. Mr. Naruhodo? What on earth were you playing at just now? Or rather, what on earth were you playing at all along? My hypothesis! My amazing hypothesis! You've been picking holes in it from the start! Sorry about that. But you promised me! You said you'd prove that dreaded explosion was an accident, not murder! You said you'd keep my precious invention from falling into anyone else's hands. But all you've done so far is try to undermine me. Yes, I did make you a promise. You're right. I said that I'd believe in you and fight for your freedom to the very end. I also told you I was no scientist. I don't understand your hypothesis. The fact is, there's an undeniable flaw in your logic, isn't there? But if I just run through some equations... Yes, you see, it's because my work is incomplete. Perhaps it is. Nevertheless, a man died as a consequence, didn't he? Oh no! You're right. You're so right. It's all my fault. I have no right to blame you for my failures. I'm a disaster. Not just as a scientist, but as a human being. Well, that might be a little over the top. While we're on the subject, well, what about Barok? He's being awful. Claiming his old university friend to be a murderer, you mean? He's a disaster. Not just as a prosecutor, but as a human being. No, but no, wait. He's the Reaper, isn't he? Perhaps he's not classified as Homo sapiens anymore. Glad that's cleared up.
Oh, look, Briz CG. Hey, Briz. Briz, how you doing?
Can I double check something with you? That's a cute emoji. Hi. Can I double check something with you? Huh. Yes. What? The machine and demonstration you prepared. They were based entirely on your hypothesis, I presume. There was no trickery involved? Huh? I drew the plans for the machine with my very own hands. Every line was painstakingly drawn with the firm belief that science is the only future. So yes, it's true that my hypothesis hasn't reached maturity yet. But please, Miss Naruhodo, you must believe in it. All right. All right, Professor. I understand.
Counsel, defendant. The prosecution's witnesses are ready to take the stand. Court is about to be in session again. Make your way into the courtroom, please.
Okay. Round 2. It all hinges on that demonstration. Mics are on the loud side, guys. Sounds distorted. Probably because we're too close.
Either that or we just got to turn it down just a smidge.
All right, hang on a second.
How's this? And how's this? And how's this?
Is this any better?
Yeah, just yeah.
I know that there's a lot of clipping going on.
Well, thanks for the feedback.
Thank you, I appreciate that. If the professor's hypothesis is as sound as he claims, it leaves him as the only person who could possibly have killed the victim. But on the other hand, Mr. Sholmes was adamant.
Better, yes, thank you.
A practical implementation, such as was attempted by the professor at the Great Exhibition, is quite impossible. So really, what should I be trying to prove here? Man, who knows?
Well, this is going to be tough.
This is going to be really tough.
All right, 23rd of October, 11 a.m. The Old Bailey courtroom.
In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby reconvene the proceedings of this court. Counsels for the defense and prosecution, are you ready for the new witnesses to testify?
The prosecution is ready, my lord.
As is the defense, my lord. So, Lord Van Zieks, I believe these next witnesses saw the demonstration on the day in question with their own eyes.
Indeed, they did. And as luck would have it, one of them is a police detective. So the testimony we are about to hear can be considered highly reliable.
Perfect. A detective of all people.
The prosecution's stance remains unchanged. Though it ended in tragedy, the demonstration on the day in question was scientifically sound. and consequently, the sole person with the opportunity to have committed this act of murder is the only other individual to have been present on the stage at the time, the accused.
Thank you, counsel. The prosecution's position is clear. So, bring forth your witnesses now.
Bailiff, show the witnesses in. The witnesses whose proximity to the incident on the day in question will clarify the truth unequivocally.
Unequivocally.
Thanks for that.
Usually it's unequivocably, but whatever. Oh boy. Well, look at this.
Witnesses, state your names and occupations for the court to hear.
My name is Balthasar Lune. I am the impresario of all the hot air balloons in vicinity of the experimental stage.
My name is Wilhelm Kostri Sigismund Ormstein. I have come to secret exhibition on the way from my home in Bohemia.
There you go.
I'm very rich.
Inspector Gina Lestrade, Scotland Yard. I'm a great detective. Even Airlock Sholmes agrees. I was on security duty at an exhibition, and I got to go up in one of them balloons. It was amazing.
Gina. Again. She did mention that she'd seen the disaster from up in a balloon, actually, didn't she? And she clearly loved every minute of it.
There were 3 balloons flying near the public experimentation stage when the incident occurred. 2 of these witnesses were on one such a balloon at the time and saw events unfold from the skies above.
So who was in the 3rd balloon? You make it sound like they were in the clouds. It was only an altitude of circa 60 feet, very low.
Well, you can't see nothing if you fly too high, can you?
60 feet, about 18 meters then. Thank you for your introductions. Now you will give your formal testimony for the court. Kindly describe exactly what you witnessed, especially those of you who had a vantage point above the stage.
Oh, Gina's Australian now.
I thought she always was. Maybe I might have muddled that a little bit, but okay. Hey, as long as you're buying it. It was an incident terrible. I'm only grateful that my balloons were not damaged.
Here's this huge bang from the stage. Then the next second, another bang in the sky beside us.
And from a misty smoke, a cage appeared out of nowhere.
And the cage hit fell from the sky like a stone and crashed into the crystal tower.
I didn't get a good look inside the cage. No one went near it after it crashed into the tower.
Yeah, she's probably crying.
I don't know. A proper cockney, ain't she? A most extraordinary collective account, I must say. Can I just clarify something? There's a detail in the witness's testimony that I've not heard any mention of until now. Specifically, that there were 2 explosions.
More precisely, 2 explosions in 2 separate places, yes. When the demonstration began, the balloon carrying the 2 witnesses was around here. There were other balloons in the air nearby at the time, carrying other passengers as well, to be clear. Then, as power was supplied to the machine for the demonstration, the first explosion occurred. The so-called birdcage that contained the victim disappeared from the stage, and a moment later, the second explosion occurred directly adjacent to the balloon carrying the witnesses. The birdcage appeared at the site of the explosion, subsequently to plummet down into the crystal tower.
I was very surprised. Suddenly, a case appeared before my eyes with a person inside. The blast was so hot, but I didn't want to miss a thing, so I kept my eyes wide.
There you go.
I still have lots of money.
Precisely who is this curious infant?
I'm told he is a young noble of Bohemian royalty. Apparently, he disguised himself in order to steal a notice into the Great Exhibition.
Yeah, I'm here in London on a sightseeing trip with my elementary school.
We will have the benefit of a child's point of view in the testimony.
Do we really need that?
When I remove my mask, this is what I look like.
Ah, yes, I see. A delightful face, I'm sure.
Yeah, everybody says so.
Great disguise, then.
The point is, the testimony of these witnesses further substantiates the facts for the court. Namely, that despite ending in an explosion, instantaneous kinesis was successfully demonstrated. And furthermore, that until the arrival of the police, no one approached the crystal tower where the victim fell. Therefore, only the accused, who was with Mr. Asman on the stage, could possibly have committed the murder.
Yes, thank you, counsel. The prosecution's views on the matter are quite clear. So, the defense's cross-examination now, please. Yes, my lord. How does this sound, Briz? Does anything sound echoey, far away?
Is it too soft for us or what?
Yeah, anyway. The view from 60 feet up. That was an incidente terrible. I'm only grateful that my balloons were not damaged. Hold it!
Crystal clear, thanks.
There were 3 balloons flying above the experimentation stage at the time, I understand. See, all 3 of them, my bellissimi bambini. They are very popular, signor. Some people will pay £10 for one ride. £10? That's more than my annual stipend.
It's £50 a month. That is my pocket money.
Royals have all the luck.
I got up there for free, I did. Played the old artwork for Her Majesty's police card, you know.
Detectives have all the luck. If they're so popular, why would you only be operating such a small number of balloons, though? Because if I have too many in the skies, they could crash into each other.
The operators for the balloons were decided by lots, with each operator manning a particular area.
And the zone above public experimentation stage is the most profitable. The other impresarios, they hate me. Thank you, witness. I think the court has a clear picture of the arrangements for balloon rides at the exhibition. Perhaps we could hear more about what you actually witnessed of the incident.
Right, I can feel you then there, my lord. There's this huge bang from the stage, and then the next second, another bang in the sky beside us.
Hold it! So you actually saw the accident happen from up in the air?
Yep. Isn't it amazing what a detective gets to do, eh? I'm telling you, Otto, being a lawyer's a mug's game. You should join a force so we can go flying together.
You know me so well. Yes, well, anyway, could you tell us exactly what you saw, do you think?
Everything. Saw everything, because we were up above it all. And that dodgy cove climbing into that cage, that dodgy professor pulling on the levers. And that's when it happened. That's when there was that massive bang and the cage disappeared. Just like that.
You are describing the moment the subject's body was decomposed by the electricity, I believe.
I didn't know what to make of it. Then there was another bang, right in me ear. I looked round, there was a huge great fireball right next to us in the sky. And there was nothing there before.
That's Pifu.
Excuse me. Master Gotts, does your memory of the day differ?
My teacher at elementary school says that when you meet someone for the first time, you should always use their full name.
Yes. What was it again?
Wilhelm Gottschalk Sigismund Ormstein.
Just the 4 names then. The point is, do you have something to say? Something to add in response to Detective Gina Lestrade's last remark, I suppose? Perhaps.
Oi, get it right, Otto. It's Inspector Lestrade.
Why does everyone have a problem with how I address them at the moment?
That is not what I saw.
Oh?
Yeah, there was a second explosion and it was right beside our balloon. That is true. But I'm sure.
Which is what I said. The minute there was nothing there, the next a massive explosion.
My teacher at elementary school says that when someone else is speaking, if you are rude enough to interrupt, you will have the most awful lie imaginable.
Are all Bohemians brought up to be so full of joy? Oh, of course, Your Majesty.
Just before the second explosion happened next to our balloon, I clearly witnessed a green balloon flying in the sky.
A green balloon.
Hey, you what? I never saw nothing like that.
There I did! I saw it, and you can't see I did it! If you complain to the council, if you cry and scream! My testimony is the truth! I am Bohemian Prince! You cannot say it's a lie! That is not allowed!
Playing a bleeding royalty card, are you? Typical.
Says the orphan who likes to remind people she works for Her Majesty's police. In that case, young man, I must ask you to amend your formal testimony. In the interest of cordial national relations between Great Britain and Bohemia... Oh.
It was not the sky that exploded. It was a green balloon that was next to us at the time.
I'm gonna present this, the charred piece of green cloth.
Objection!
Objection! No. The defense would have to object to that last statement, my lord. And I would have to overrule your objection, counsel.
One down.
The defense would have to accept the penalty given. Glad to hear it. You would also have to think again. All right, keep going.
All right, so she says if it's not the sky that exploded, it was a green balloon.
Let's just keep grilling them. Hold it. A green balloon, you say? Are you sure about that?
Of course I am sure. I am a proud Bohemian Prince. All these questions are making me boring.
I think you mean bored.
English is very annoying. The language of my countrymen is far superior.
Ragazzo, it is very wrong to lie.
Lie?
Flying balloons never explode. And for the same reason, the planets never explode. It is logical. Please tell me that doesn't mean logical.
If you insult me, you insult all of Bohemia.
Ma die.
I will have with the army come and shoot all of your stupid balloons out of the sky. All of them.
Sure, have another. Here you are, Your Highness. If only all international incidents were so easily resolved.
Now that peaceful relations have been restored here in the courtroom, perhaps we could return to the testimony. Did you also see the moment that the cage materialized, Mr. Loon?
No, I did not see the explosion myself. However, the cage, it fell from the sky like a stone and crashed into the crystal tower.
Hold that thought for a second. I'm no expert on Imperial European history, but I don't fully understand why a Bohemian prince has a German accent. Bohemia was modern-day Czech Republic.
That's just the voice we're going with, pal.
Sorry.
I appreciate the heads up though. So the cage, it crashed into the crystal tower. Ahem. Hold it! Did you see that actually happen? No, in reality I did not. I saw it after it hit the tower.
It's not your voices,
It's the way they wrote him.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, the writers.
There was a grand confusion around the stage. I ran to see what had happened. I was terrorized by the idea that one of my balloons had crashed. I suppose they are his livelihood. But when I looked up into the sky, all my precious balloons were still there.
I saw it though. I saw it slam into the tower. After all, I'm a detective now.
Then tell us what you saw, Inspector Lestrade.
That's what I like to hear. I didn't get a good look inside the cage, but no one went near it after it crashed into the tower.
Hold it! Was it you who gave the order to keep people away?
Hey, use your head, Otto. How could it have been me? I was up in a balloon, weren't I?
Right.
Because I wasn't available. The boss had to leg it over there. He was getting shoved and kicked all over by the panicking spectators as he tried to seal off the scene. It's a real sight to behold, I can tell you. Amazing.
Oh, Inspector Gregson.
So anyway, I couldn't see the cage that well because of all the smoke. I didn't really want to see, to be honest. Scared out of me wits.
Keep it together, Inspector. The prosecution really is asserting that the demonstration was genuine. What if it was actually some kind of switch-around trick instead? That would mean that the victim was never actually on the stage in the first place. 2 explosions would have thrown everyone watching into a panic for sure. I think I need to find out more about what exactly people saw at the time. Alright, I'm gonna have story mode deal with this.
Okay, so we're just...
I'm only grateful that the balloon's not damaged.
What?
Oh, so it is that.
Objection.
So that's the right evidence, wrong statement. Objection! Mr. Loon, in your testimony, you said that all 3 of the balloons you had operating at the time were undamaged. See, that is correct. If they had been caught in the explosions, it would have been terrible. I wonder if you might know what this is. Oh, I think it may be, see, a part of a balloon. A bent piece of the fabric of the envelope. Sorry? The envelope? Pardon, that is the large round part of the balloon which becomes filled with hot air. It is made from very thick fabric lined with rubber. You do not want it to rip when you are in the sky. Just as I thought. This piece of cloth was found near the experimentation stage. In other words, as Master Gotts testified, a green balloon did indeed explode that day. Hey! If all the balloons in the sky above the experimentation stage belong to you, Mr. Loon, then your statement that they were all undamaged clearly contradicts the evidence. No! Balloon exploded that day. Why didn't the man say so?
Maybe everyone one boy was killed.
Oh no, have you just spent 10 whole pounds for the experience? How awful.
Seems to me like those things crash 50% of the time anyway.
Objection! Yeah, the instantaneous kinesis did occur, but after the explosion on the stage, the point of materialization shifted to a location occupied by a balloon.
Causing the balloon to explode. Yes, eminently plausible.
Mr. Balloon, yeah.
Mr. Balloon.
An unfortunate traffic accident, as it were, but it changes nothing about the pertinent facts.
Hold it! Hold it! This I cannot accept! Why not, Mr. Loon? You are suggesting that I am a liar! That persons died in a balloon incidente!
There's no need to get fired up, Mr. Loon. The victim was the sole fatality that day.
That's right, and I prove it! Balthazar Loon is not a liar! There was no such balloon in the sky. It is not possible! You're saying it's impossible? Why?
This court has more important matters to discuss than the number of balloons that were operating that day.
Is it irrelevant though? Is it?
Objection!
Objection! But we can't ignore the fact that nobody appears to have known anything about this other balloon until now. My lord, the defense calls for further testimony from Mr. Loon. I concur. There is clearly more to the truth here than meets the eye. It's imperative that we clear up the issue of this phantom balloon, I feel. Witness, you will give supplementary testimony about the balloons you were operating at the exhibition. Grazie, my lord.
All right, here we go.
Here we go.
Round 2. Witness testimony. Mr. Loon's balloons.
As I said, Balthazar Loon is no liar. Every balloon I had in the sky had landed safely. All 3 of my balloons were carrying passengers. If they fell to the ground in an explosion, it was a catastrophe.
You can't get away from the fact that you can't get away from the fact that a burnt bit of cloth was found at the scene, can you? Coppers at yard reckon it was probably some debris thrown from the explosion on the stage.
This stupido ragazzo is mistaken. My balloons had the red and blue zigzag stripes anyway. Yep, as evidenced by the ones he's carrying. So your assertion is that the balloon this child saw was not one belonging to you. Si, exactamente. If he even saw a balloon in the first place. I do not like the sound of it. It is very bad for business. I have a good mind to sue the land of Bohemia. Oh boy.
If you attack us, we will fight back. I will be far. All out far.
Silly me. I have a balloon. What happened to all-out war? Mr. Loon clearly doesn't appear to be lying, but that doesn't change the fact that the testimony and evidence are contradictory here.
If the defense is unable to find fault with the witnesses' statements, the court must consider them the truth. Think long and hard on that, my learned friend.
The situation has clearly changed now. I have to get to the bottom of what happened here, no matter what it takes. Counsel, you may now cross-examine the witnesses.
Cross-examination time.
Let's do it. As I said, the Balthazar Loon is no liar. Every balloon I had in the sky landed safely.
Hold it!
Hold it! You couldn't just have forgotten one. You couldn't just have forgotten one, maybe. Signor, I might not notice if I was given 100 lentils and one was missing. But we are talking about 3 enormous balloons. Do you believe I could make a mistake about something so grande and expensive?
I took the liberty of having Inspector Gregson check this gentleman's warehouse. I have the report here. It clearly says a total of 3 balloons.
It would appear no mistake has been made, then. Surely Mr. Strodkin isn't sent for such a menial task.
What? Me? I'll tell you what I told the boss. Eastern kids like me can only count up to 2. Obviously that ain't true, but the boss bought it and said he'd have to go himself in that case.
All three of my balloons were carrying passengers. If they fell to the ground in an explosion, what a catastrophe!
Hold it!
Hold it! It would be quite a catastrophe if they fell to the ground for any reason, I think. On that note, Mr. Loon, tell me, what is it that keeps these balloons in the sky? Are you an idiota? Sorry? That is like asking, why does a candle burn bright? It burns bright because it burns bright. And a balloon flies because it flies. What else? That must be Italian for I don't know.
There are two types of flying balloons, hot air balloons and gas balloons. Hot air balloons work on the principle of hot air being less dense than cold air, whereas gas balloons derive their lift by using a gas that is lighter than air.
See, and my balloons are filled with the magic gas, I believe.
Hydrogen, lighter than air but highly explosive.
Good Lord. I do not permit smoking of the cigarettes in any of my balloons. The magic gas does not like fire.
Even a small spark of static electricity could cause the entire balloon to explode.
What is the matter with you, senor? All that comes out of your mouth is explosion, explosion. I tell you, my balloons are perfectly safe. They have to be, or I cannot eat. None of my balloons exploded that day. I am completely sure. But if you still say that is what happened, you must show me the proof. All right. So Mr. Loon had 3 balloons in the air that day. If none of them were damaged, then what was the one that exploded?
You can't get away from the fact that a burnt-up bit of cloth was found at the scene, can you?
Hold it! I was surprised to find the piece of fabric still at the scene, actually. Didn't you search the area surrounding the stage for clues?
Nah, I'm not into picking stuff up off the ground, me. Always works out way better diving into people's pockets instead.
Not helium then.
So much for the new career path. Yeah, we were thinking helium too.
Mind you, the boss was on his hands and knees picking up all kinds of rubbish from the floor. Thing is though, Cage went crashing into the Crystal Tower, didn't it? And that's where most of the investigating was going on.
Even so, I would have thought someone from Scotland Yard would have gathered it up as evidence.
Oh, listen to you. You stumble across a bit of balloon and suddenly you're the best investigator in the world.
Pardon?
Well, you ain't got a badge, have you? Like this one? I could arrest you with this if I wanted to.
I wouldn't put it past her.
Come to think of it, I was talking some scorching on the ground at a meeting we had about the investigation. Coppers at the yard reckon it was probably some debris thrown from the explosion on the stage.
Hold it! There was considerable damage to the stage and surrounding area, wasn't there?
Yeah, some of the cubs what were watching the experiment were put in a blasted engine. Good job the old contraption didn't keel over, eh?
I haven't even considered that.
It seems there was great panic after the incident occurred. Nevertheless, the police shouldn't have missed a torn piece of the envelope from a balloon. Inspector Gregson can expect repercussions.
Like me swiping all his fish and chips, eh?
Man's sole pleasure. None of this matters. That scrap of balloon envelope means nothing. 90. This stupido ragazzo is mistaken. My balloons have the red and blue zigzag stripes anyway. Hold it! You mean the color is wrong? Si, signor. I do not have any green balloons in my warehouse. And yet, a piece of green cloth was found at the scene. And it's unmistakably from a balloon.
Sole pleasure, cause soul is a type of fish too.
I didn't even catch that. Thanks, man. Well, I did not know how that can be.
For the sake of argument, let's say that a green balloon did explode above the stage. Yeah, seriously, we didn't even catch that. You couldn't therefore conclude that it happened on the day in question.
Why not?
There have been recreational balloon flights over Hyde Park operated from before the Great Exhibition.
Dover saw very nice with lemon juice. Have to think about that.
One could have exploded on some earlier date. Unfortunate, as I'm sure you'd agree.
You believe it may have been from some earlier balloon accident that predates the exhibition? Si, exactamente. As the signor says, it is not from one of my balloons. Clearly this little ragazzo from Bohemia is mistaken about what he saw.
What's hot?
Excuse me. Is something wrong, Master Gotts?
It's what the Wilhelm's Gott like Siegmund Einstein!
It was on the tip of my tongue.
Well, it's over here in England, so you'd have to import it.
Yeah, something is very wrong. I know what I saw. There was a green balloon there. I swear it. I swear all over Bohemia.
You can speak as much bad language as you like, but the changes are nothing. If you do not have evidence, Ragazzo, then I must tell your parents to punish you, eh? As he gives him a balloon.
Oh my gosh.
Perhaps we'll let the judge decide when it comes to punishments.
Evidence? What is this evidence?
To give a simple example, young man, a photograph, for instance, some tangible proof of what you claim.
Well, why didn't you say so sooner? I have the photograph here.
Good gracious.
What? Oh boy.
I had not been up in a balloon for a little while, so I was very excited. I took lots and lots of photographs of the Crystal Tower, of the Bohemian exhibit, of the streets of London, of the Otiel's cellar, the balloon.
And the instantaneous kinesis experiment? Did you take a picture of that?
Yeah, one picture.
Really? You did take one?
But all I wanted was a ride in a balloon. I was not interested in boring experiments.
Never mind that. Can you show us that photograph?
Of course, and then you will see. You will see that I am not lying. That I really did see a green balloon.
Oh. What's that?
Well, I see you are too shocked to speak.
Yes, I think shocked is indeed the word, young man.
It's in sepia.
Yeah.
Yeah, perhaps you cannot see that it was a green balloon from this photograph, but...
Oh, so he admits it.
But that is not my fault! That is the fault of the stupid person who made the camera!
That is one very Bohemian-sounding cry. Very well. The court will accept this photograph as evidence. Photograph of the balloon has been entered into the court record.
A photograph taken by Gotts whilst he was riding in a balloon. It shows another balloon that he claims was green and exploded moments after he took the shot.
Well, it's still...
It's not my fault. It's the fault of the person who made the camera.
Well, never mind. I'm sure you have plenty of wonderful sepia memories to take home with you. In any case, when exactly did you take that photograph?
Well, it was on the day of the big explosion.
You don't say.
When I pressed the shutter release, there was this very loud bang, and a hot wind rushed over my face.
That means this photograph was taken a split second before the explosion occurred. Well, if you ask me, this black and white photograph changes nothing. I could not give the flying fig. Lovely language you've picked up.
I enjoyed that breakdown, by the way.
As I thought, Mr. Loon's testimony just doesn't quite add up. Young Bohemian boy claims to have seen another fourth balloon. Mr. Loon vehemently denies the possibility. And it's hard to imagine the man in charge could be mistaken about the number that were in the air. Still, this inconsistency must tell us something. Sure.
Maybe if you present that photograph somehow, some way.
Okay, about this I lose a liar. Every balloon is in safety. All three of my balloons were carrying passengers. If they fell to the ground in an explosion, what a catastrophe. Well, whoops, I didn't mean to say that.
Okay,
I'll skip this, here and here the altar. The gas was a candle bright. Must be Italian for I don't know. I pressed the wrong button.
Yeah, hot air balloons and gas balloons. Hydrogen. But it's not helium, it's hydrogen instead.
Small spark. What is the matter with you? Explosions. None of my balloons exploded today. I'm completely sure. You must show me the proof. Okay. So that is the statement where I have to present my evidence.
Exactly. Go back and...
Okay. So as he said before, all of his balloons were carrying passengers, right?
Were they?
Do you see any passengers in this photograph?
I do not think so. All right.
All together, everybody.
Objection!
Unfortunately, the photograph Master Gotts took can't tell us the color of the balloon. But it can tell us something else. Something crucially important.
What?
It shows that the pictured balloon wasn't carrying any passengers. Ah, my goodness, you're right. But surely all the balloons would have been carrying passengers. There would be no sense in it otherwise. See, they have a pleasure of seeing the view. My balloons only fly with passengers. Which tells us that the pictured balloon isn't one of them. So when the incident occurred that day, there was a fourth balloon in the skies above the experimentation stage. The mysterious green balloon. I know nothing. Niente. I can only tell you one thing.
Niente.
If this balloon was not carrying passengers, then it was not one of mine. Fine.
Objection! There are illegal tradesmen everywhere you care to look. Clearly, one such entrepreneur decided to capitalize on the opportunity presented by the Great Exhibition and managed to operate balloon flights on Mr. Loon's patch without him realizing.
See, la competition, trying to steal my profits. I did not notice because of the experimento that went wrong on the stage. This fourth balloon exploded the very same moment Mr. Asman was beamed from the stage below.
Right, so them scraps that fell to the ground after and left them scorch marks, they didn't come from the stage at all. It's bits of the balloon raining down. Because no one was in it, it didn't get no attention.
Mysterious fourth balloon, carrying no passengers, silently floating over the experimentation stage.
Objection! This photograph shows us nothing more. A stray balloon carrying no one and operated by some rogue trader. Clearly, it has nothing to do with the case.
Oh, does it now? Its relevance does elude me, I must say.
The court has seen sufficient evidence and heard ample testimony already. The prosecution calls for this trial to be concluded.
Uh-oh. Really? Have we really got to the truth yet? No, I can't let this opportunity slip away. The jurors' minds are made up. Not in our favor. What else can this photograph tell us? Is there nothing more we can learn from it?
There's more!
There's always more. Objection! Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, wait. Please don't give your decisions yet. The photograph of Master Gotts may well be hiding one more vital clue. What's that? A vital clue?
Objection! We're well past the point of mere possibilities. It's time for definitives now. So tell the court. What exactly does this alleged clue in the photograph prove?
The cause of the explosion.
Right.
We can reasonably assume that the pictured balloon was destroyed in the searing heat of the explosion.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was not my fault.
Evidently, because the birdcage from the kinesis machine materialized in the sky where it had been flying. And the balloon, being filled with flammable hydrogen, instantly and explosively ignited.
Objection! No, that's not what happened.
What?
It would appear that this photograph requires closer examination. Counsel for the defense, you will highlight the location of this alleged clue in the photograph for the court. Of course, my lord. If you look closely, it's plain enough to see. What's shown is linked to another piece of evidence we have. In a way, that leads to an unbelievable conclusion. The clue that heavily suggests the real reason for the balloon... The clue that heavily suggests the real reason the balloon exploded is... this little guy here.
Take that!
Take that! The timing of this photograph can only be described as miraculous. If you look, you'll notice there's a bright white line that appears to point directly at the balloon.
Most likely a ray of light caught incidentally on the film.
I'm afraid I can see nothing of the sort. If you look with a magnifying glass, my lord, it becomes clear what the nature of this bright line really is. Goodness, what is that? Undeniably some flash of light, yes?
Oh, golly. Do you think it might be lightning?
But it couldn't have been a finer day.
I believe we may be looking at fire.
About the fire, heading straight for the balloon, like an arrow.
Indeed. Even to my aging eyes, it would appear to be a flame of some sort. My word! Are you suggesting that this flame struck the hydrogen gas that filled the balloon?
Objection!
Objection! That's absurd. The balloon would have been 60 feet above the ground at the time. No flame could possibly have reached such a height.
Objection!
Objection! Actually, it's my opinion that a particular piece of evidence found at the scene reveals how that is exactly what did happen.
What evidence?
If such evidence exists, counsel, then for goodness sake, present it, man. Which evidence explains this mysterious streak of flame that appears to be headed directly for the balloon?
Y'all ready for this?
Let's hit it. Da-da-da.
Take that!
This was found hidden at the foot of a small ornamental tree near the scene. Good Lord, is that a crossbow? An arrow dipped in oil and set alight could have been shot from this weapon, sending a flaming arrow straight into the hydrogen-filled balloon.
Are you suggesting that crossbow was used to deliberately...
Blimey, you're right. That streak of light in the photo looks just like an arrow, doesn't it?
Then the explosion of the balloon, it was very likely the result of a flaming arrow from this crossbow igniting the hydrogen gas inside it.
No!
Order! Counsel, this is an extraordinary supposition. If the aim was to cause the balloon to explode, the shooter could have used a gun, of course. However, there's an obvious reason why that would have been out of the question.
The noise of the discharge, of course.
That's right. By using a crossbow, the projectile could be fired at the balloon silently.
Well, yeah, if someone had shot a gun off in the exhibition grounds, it would have caused a real panic.
With the big explosion, there was a very big panic anyway, no? I don't like this. I should be pleased to have found a plausible new explanation for all this. But something feels wrong.
Objection!
Objection! Do you understand the implications of what you're saying, my Nipponese friend?
The flaming arrow did indeed hit the balloon, then obviously it would have exploded. And if the birdcage appeared from the cloud of smoke that ensued...
What? Wait a minute. What are you really saying here? I don't get it. Was the birdcage beamed up in the sky after all? Or what?
My goodness me! Now I understand. That's what that sinking feeling is about. I think there's a good chance that the birdcage was actually concealed inside the balloon all along. What? Did I just hear that correctly, Counsel? There's no going back now. The horses bolted. Let's assume, as I said, that the birdcage was hidden inside the green balloon from the start. On stage, when the experiment was started, the birdcage and the instantaneous kinesis machine disappeared in a cloud of smoke. At that moment, the flaming arrow was fired from the ground, causing the green balloon to explode and drawing the attention of the spectators to the sky above their heads. From amid the smoke, the hidden birdcage then appeared to fall down and crash into the crystal tower. I think you'll all agree it's entirely plausible that what I've just described is the real truth behind the miraculous experiment carried out that day. Good grief!
Objection! This is ludicrous. What you've described is no science experiment. It's child's play. A contemptible display of stage magic.
Both Mr. Sholmes and Iris said that the experiment was a scientific impossibility, in which case this is the only way to explain what happened that day.
And in any case, the victim's body was found inside the birdcage in the crystal tower. If the instantaneous kinesis didn't take place, how do you explain that? If I may put in a word, as a man of magic myself, such apparent discrepancies can easily be explained by some simple deception.
Juror number 3.
All that would be needed is a doppelganger, someone who looked very similar to the victim, Mr. Asman, and having this other man appear on stage to the front of the show as a body double.
Yes, of course. So, in fact, Mr. Asman must have been inside the birdcage that was concealed inside the balloon right from the start.
Objection! That balloon would have been filled with hydrogen. Anything hidden inside it would have been scattered to the four winds when it exploded. No one would ever have embarked on such a risky venture.
Not necessarily. The explosive force of the balloon gas would very much depend on the mixture ratio.
Juror number 4.
Balloons are rarely filled with pure hydrogen, but a mixture of other gases such as helium as well. Helium on its own doesn't explode, but by controlling the gas mixture ratio, the explosive force can be altered.
The mixture ratio?
Obviously, the victim's body would have suffered some burns. That would be unavoidable. But not to such an extent as to render this whole obscene charade impossible.
So everything that happened can be explained, logically and scientifically. The explosion that engulfed the stage at the start of the experiment was no accident. It was all part of an elaborate deception to make it appear that instantaneous kinesis had occurred. Well, goodness me. And if we accept that this is what happened, it means that the victim, Mr. Asman, was never present on the public experimentation stage to begin with. In short, he couldn't have been killed by the defendant, who was on stage in full view the entire time. This will be very hard for the prosecution to counter. Lord Van Zieks can't credibly maintain that Professor Hairbrayne's suspect now. Hold it!
What the hell?
Mr. Naruhodo, I appreciate your efforts. Thank you. Professor? But you can stop now. Just keep your mouth shut, please. Sorry.
What's all this about, Mr. Hairbrayne?
I, Albert Hairbrayne, hereby confess that it was me who stabbed Mr. Odie Asman. Yes, it was me.
with my faithful friend and partner Andrew the Screwdriver. What?
What are you doing?
Order! Order! Defendant, explain this sudden confession.
Objection! Professor Hairbrayne, what are you talking about?
It's what I've said all along. I must protect my hypothesis and my precious machine. You stand there and claim it was all a trick, all an elaborate prank, but where's your proof? No, you'd have to examine the machine if you wanted to prove it, but then it would all be over. My beautiful hypothesis would be laid bare. I mean the indignity of it.
It's clear that you drew the plans for the experiment, but you didn't actually build it. It's quite conceivable that you were duped, Professor. If you'll just let me, I'll prove Barok.
Yes?
I'll cooperate. I'll do whatever you say. I swear it. So please, ensure the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act is adhered to and protect my creation.
Pray forgive the discourtesy of filling my hallowed chalice at this critical juncture. Here's to my learned Nipponese friend.
What?
And his upcoming attempt to clarify the defense's position in the light of the accused's confession.
Huh.
Do you intend to formally assert that the experiment was nothing more than a conjuring trick? Because the moment you do, the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act that protects the professor's invention will cease to apply. The prosecution will then demand a rigorous examination of the machinery involved in order to establish the truth. However, if you acknowledge that the machine is genuine and instrumental in the victim's murder, any chance of investigating will be crushed and the confidentiality of the professor's hypothesis preserved.
Well, counsel, what is the defense's official position on this matter? What Professor Hairbrayne, my client, actually asked of me was to prove that the explosion on stage was an accident and protect the secrecy of his hypothesis. But there's no way to do that without implying the professor's guilt. Do I protect my client's life by asserting his innocence? Or do I uphold my client's request but see him condemned? Either way, I can't avoid betraying his trust.
You've been silent long enough. Isn't talking your trade, my learned friend? Or has all knowledge of English escaped your confused Nipponese mind?
Mr. Naruhodo, there's no escape here. I have to make a choice. It's an impossible one. I have to give up on something, but what? The defense asserts that the defendant's instantaneous kinesis machine was in fact, I'm gonna say, a conjuring trick. Doesn't matter though. No! I can't say it! My client placed his faith in me. I can't just let him down.
What I must give up on is not the question you have to ask yourself here.
Try that again.
What must I give up on is not the question you have to ask yourself here.
Huh?
It's what can I protect?
Huh?
Hello again, Mr. Naruhodo. It's been far too long.
Susanoo-san! But what are you?
Susanoo, take down!
My first Susanoo takedown in 6 months!
There'll be time to talk later, Mr. Naruhodo. For now, we must concentrate on the task at hand.
which is working out not what I have to give up on, but what I can protect. Professor Hairbrayne. Yes. Yesterday you told me that science is the pursuit of truth. Well, my job is to pursue the truth too. Yes, of course. And personally, I believe that you didn't stab Mr. Asmund. I think you've come to realize something yourself too, haven't you? That your experiment and the machine you built with the victim are questionable. The truth behind that is what we must both pursue now.
So, you finally opened your eyes.
What?
And as for you, Albert, you can't ignore this any longer.
Ah,
Having heard my learned friend's assertion, don't you have something to say?
Barok. Lord Van Zieks.
Gosh, I've never heard him speak that way before.
In truth, there is one thing. Something I've remembered that's of relevance. What? Most labored pun ever.
Battle of Chavillon Blanc.
On the day it happened, just before I began the experiment, I saw a man near the stage. A man holding that crossbow.
I beg your pardon?
What? Other man, what?
What?
Professor, did the man have any distinguishing features? What did he look like? Taller than me, and thinner than me, with straight hair, straighter and wider than mine. Let me see. One less lens than me, too. A monocle. A rather stylish black monocle. One thing in particular will help to positively identify the man. You see, I know him very well. After all, he's the engineer who built my invention.
What?
He built the machine? That's right. Mr. Asmund introduced him to me a year ago. He's a man by the name of Enoch Drebber.
Enoch Drebber?
Does this name mean something? Members of the jury seem flustered.
Not to name any scientist wishes to hear. The man's an abomination.
Not the name any conjurer wishes to hear either.
Who on earth is he?
I'm afraid this isn't the first tale of this nature that I've heard in scientific circles in connection with that name. There's talk of other flamboyant experiments that turn out to be nothing but stage trickery in the end. Obviously, the rascal is after the government's research grant money.
When magicians are in need of money, I have heard of them resorted to these underhand tactics. Some acquaintances of mine with experience of such things have mentioned Enoch Drebber's name before.
The man is both an engineer and a magician. Yes, we're dealing with an unparalleled confidence trickster here. That's Enoch Drebber for you.
Whoa. Well, there you go. Notice we didn't get a guilty verdict right away.
Nope.
Don't jinx yourself. Don't jinx yourself, Cannonball. So it's true then. My invention, my great machine, was just a grand illusion. Considering what we've just heard about Mr. Drebber's character, I'm sorry to say that sounds increasingly likely. Even though no one else believed it, I wanted to. I wanted to believe that machine would function exactly as my hypothesis predicted.
Which is why you were so opposed to it being investigated, I presume.
I knew that if the machine was examined in detail, its construction would give away my hypothesis. Obviously, I didn't want that to happen, but at the same time, I knew that if it was found to be nothing more than a trick, than a work of deception, then everything I'd worked towards, all my research, all my dreams, my whole life would be over. I was terrified at the prospect. So you really had no idea then, did you? About the true nature of the machine that was built. The true nature of Mr. Drebber. I never questioned anything. I didn't want to question it. It's entirely possible that Mr. Asman and Mr. Drebber were working together to use you as a means of fraudulently acquiring the research grant money. When I announced my invention to the crowds that day, it was the finest moment of my career. I pulled all the levers and turned all the dials in exactly the way Drebber had described. When the smoke suddenly started billowing out, I panicked. I didn't know what was happening. But I really don't know how the whole illusion was made to work. I don't know anything anymore. Ugh. Disgusting.
Let me confirm one final point with you, Professor. Do you now consent to the prosecution submitting the necessary paperwork to release your invention from the protection afforded by the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act?
Yes. Please go ahead. I'm very sorry. Man, this sucks.
Wow.
I'll tell you what, though. It would appear that we shall have to suspend proceedings for the remainder of the day now. Lord Van Zieks.
My lord.
The court has newly been made aware of another party whose involvement in this matter is critical.
Yes, Mr. Drebber.
Gather information about the man. If possible, I should like him served with a subpoena.
With pleasure, my lord.
Now, counsel for the defense. Yes, my lord. When we reconvene, I shall be looking for one thing, and one thing alone from you. Evidence that the defendant is innocent of the crime for which he presently stands accused. I understand. Good. In that case, this court is adjourned until tomorrow morning.
All right.
Boy. Wow. So, a new player has arrived.
Yes, indeed.
Well,
But it ain't. But we're not done yet.
not quite. 23rd of October, 1:36 p.m., the Old Bailey, defendant's antechamber. Mr. Naruhodo? Yes? I'm so sorry. I was wrong. You were right. I tricked you. You trusted me. I dragged you into my mess. Oh, how did it ever come to this? I'm so sorry. Did you really have no idea, Professor? About what Mr. Drebber was really up to, I mean? About what he was really constructing? Naturally! That machine was the embodiment of my hypothesis, of all my hopes and dreams. I had complete faith in it. All right, in that case, I won't say any more. Now, sadly, the murder accusation against you still stands. So we must do as much investigation as we can before the trial resumes tomorrow. Well, thank you so much for doing so much for me. And now we get to the elephant in the room.
I'm so sorry for arriving late this morning, Mr. Naruhodo.
Arriving late?
Didn't you receive my postcard? I wanted to let you know when I'd arrive.
Postcard? What postcard?
I hid it from you, Rene, so it would be a surprise. Well, did it work?
I was surprised, all right. Especially when she threw me to the ground.
Oh dear, I'm so sorry. I was just so happy to see you again that it sort of slipped out.
Maybe we could stick to more traditional displays of emotion in the future.
Susie's train was aiming to London Victoria this morning, you see. But we made the coachman really whip the horses hard so she didn't miss the whole trial.
I was watching from the gallery for a while, but in the end, I'm afraid I couldn't contain myself.
Well, I'm glad you didn't.
Oh,
Having you at my side in court gives me the strength I need to win. So, I'm delighted to see you back in London.
oh, you're too kind, Mr. Naruhodo. I'm delighted to be here. I hope I can continue to be of service to you.
Of course. So, what's brought you back? Did Professor Mikitoba not protest?
Let's save all that conversation for when we are back at home, shall we? You know, I've made one of my most special blends ever for this special occasion.
Oh, Iris, how wonderful! I can't wait!
The band's back together again, kids! Yay! Sasato-san was back in London. It's hard to describe how happy that made me feel at the time. But despite my elation, our tale was about to take yet another extraordinary turn. To be continued. So this is where we're gonna stop.
Yep. Now, we may have seen some mild fireworks, but y'all, when we get to the investigation, as meaty as it is, you're not gonna believe what we're gonna reveal, man.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, there's gonna be some huge fireworks.
And just wait till the end of the trial, man. Drama everywhere.
Kids, we've only gotten started. So you'll be back next week, right?
Yeah. Thanks, Frizz, for sticking around most of the time. You rock, man.
Yep, we appreciate the support. So next week, 7:30 p.m. Wednesday, you bring your popcorn. You're not going to want to miss it. So for the Cannonball, for the package Andrew Steele, I'm the Cannonball Alex Steele. We are the Steel